Hello, welcome to CFA Level 2. This is Nick at Quartic with 10 topics in 10 weeks. We're into the second half now. We're going to be looking at equity. This takes us into the valuation section, the asset valuation section of the curriculum, which is the key area of Level 2. Equity itself is 10 to 15%, so up to 18 questions in your exam, a very important area. It's actually quite a good area for picking up marks. Unlike some of the other really techie topics, you'll find equity with some basic knowledge and understanding. You'll find that you can hopefully get a lot of these questions right. We can split the 8 readings. There are 4, I suppose, background readings and 4 readings that focus on the valuation models themselves. And so let's have a look. First of all, at some of the background readings. Applications and processes, it sets the scene. Why are we doing the valuation in the first place? A couple of basic definitions. Return concept. We look at a wide range of calculations and analysis of what rate of return we require, in particular the equity risk premium. There are around 9 different calculations of that, so we are understanding in quite some detail what rate of return it is that we require. Industry and company analysis. Despite the name, this is more financial modeling. If we were to create a spreadsheet valuation, this is the first reading that does it. So we start off with predicting sales, predicting cost of goods sold, predicting other costs, and then moving on to the balance sheet. And a lot of it is looking at various top-down and bottom-up approaches to this. Mostly common sense, but you need to see the way in which questions are asked in order to be pretty confident of getting most of this right on the day. We now move into the valuation models. 4 of them. The first one is dividend based. You did this at level 1, and what we're doing is we're extending that. Lots of different models. We've got 1 stage, 2 stage, we have an H model, we have even a 3 stage, and it's a matter of doing discounting. If you understand the basic concepts of discounting and we're trying to forecast dividends for however many years into the future, then most of this is reasonably straightforward. There is a bit of algebra, but if you understand it, then that is not too challenging. The second modelling reading is free cash flow, into the third of our study sessions. Free cash flow was defined at level 1, but we understand what free cash flow to the firm is, what free cash flow to equity is, why they are useful, how they interact, what different transactions will make them bigger or smaller. And then once we've understood free cash flow, the algebra for valuation is very much the same as that for dividends. Price and enterprise value multiples. We saw PE ratios, price to sales, price to book value, price to cash flow at level 1. We extend that various others as well, including enterprise value, and we see how relative valuation provides another range of tools with which to value companies. Residual income. This is in a way my favourite model because it's slightly hybrid. It's saying if we're valuing a company, let's start with the balance sheet. Let's start with what it's got and then see what earnings it makes over and above what it is required to generate for the equity shareholders. So when we look at this, slightly unusual to start with, but once you've understood the main concept, in a way it is more tangible than most of the other models that we look at. That's residual income, also known as an economic valuation model. Then finally, private company valuation. We've looked at the 4 of our modelling chapters. This is back to a background chapter, and here we're looking at private companies where you don't have the same quality of information published, and we have different ways of valuing it depending on what the motivation is, depending on if it's a transaction, what sort of transaction we're looking at. So that's private company valuation. Overall, equity is going to provide quite a large chunk of your exam, and with a reasonable amount of hard work, you'll find that this hopefully will generate some very good marks for your score.